Hello, Opening Pathways viewers. It's Tom LeNoble. It's good to see you again. I have a great guest for us today, Audra Palakodety. I think I did that wrong, but I sure practice it. Audra's going to help me with it and make sure it's right. She is here, and she is the um, founder and chief executive officer at Apoorva, which we're going to learn all about. Audra, please tell them your name and help me out.
Sorry. So my name is Audra Palakodety, and I'm actually the COO at Apoorva.
The COO, there we go. So we're going to learn all about that today. So Audra, as we get started, please um, tell us about the company. I really want to know what really sparked your idea to get involved with it and be part of it.
Yeah. So the Apoorva Corporation was founded in 2001 by Nagesh and Apindi, the CEO. And over the course of these years, at first he started more in data warehousing, data migrations, integrations, also moved into technology strategies, assessments, and custom software development. And what we had been doing primarily for the last 8 years is creating better solutions for folks that already have a software and many times retooling it, in some cases starting completely from scratch as well, to give them the opportunity to be able to scale and grow effectively by harnessing technology. Um, what we've also moved into in the last couple of years is creating products ourselves. So instead of just creating products for our customers, now we have some products out in the marketplace too. We have a product called Siteware, which is a facility operations maintenance software that helps teams coordinate all of their maintenance activity, tasks, audits, inspections into one platform for easier communication. We found in a couple of industries that we first targeted, self-storage and property management, that a lot of times this was an actual manual process. People were going around with clipboards and spreadsheets and sticky notes and good intentions, but just really didn't have that electronic opportunity to have a mobile app, use a tablet or use a cell phone to be able to complete those tasks when you're walking around a facility and checking on things. With that product, as we first took, say, an audit spreadsheet and said, okay, well, let's put it in electronic form, it really grew from customer feedback. We started with a self-storage operator that had all unmanned facilities. So some of the things that we added through their feedback was like a geolocation stamp so that they would be able to know that the different contractors that they were using were really on site when they conducted the audits or inspections. Signature field, the ability to assign a task while you're going through the audit. You come across something, you don't have to wait till you get back to your desk. You can pull up that item and say, oh, I need Jack to finish ABC, and you can assign it to Jack and send it right as you're going through. So just to really speed up the process and make sure nothing slips through the cracks. From there, we added the ability to add photos and video and notes for more clarity. So when people get the task, sometimes a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? And the ability to attach a photo to a task to give more detail was really essential. And then after that, we were like, what else can we do? We should really also create a vendor portal because some things can be handled by your own internal teams. In other cases, you need your vendor partners. You need your trades, your skilled people who can do, electrical work, or your gate people, or your landscaping companies, or your sign people. And so we created that connection as well, which really, really made it a pretty full service product. So that's Siteware. And then another product that we have out currently is in a different vertical in the insurance business called Invento, which is a policy administration system. We've taken a different approach to it. There's lots of companies out here that do that, but a lot of them are older companies who have kind of sometimes over time have been a little bit more stagnant. And we're creating a platform that will allow for more modern integrations with inspections and all kinds of areas that needed a better link. Um, the way we also price is different. Our pricing is per policy instead of a traditional way, which would be you have 300 policies, it's this rate. If you have 600 policies, it's this rate, et cetera. So ours is just a price per policy, which makes it easier for people to convert to our platform and also makes it scalable. They can slowly do that as the renewals happen through that
Great.
industry. So the fun part about what we do is we have since we've been around a long time and we've helped people in different verticals, the real joy for me has been learning about all these different kinds of companies, right? Like, I don't have to work for all of them to get a really good experience and what
Amazing.
all these different industries are. So it's been a wonderful variety.
Good. Well, now that we've learned all about Apoorva, we're going to learn about Audra. So I want to know, please, how, when you look at yourself, how you fundamentally changed since you stepped into the COO role there, because I know you started out and you've worked your way to get to that level. Maybe I'm seeing a visionary here that you will be CEO one day, who knows? But at the moment, I'd like to know, how has it fundamentally changed you?
Well, I mean, obviously, with that title and that role, there's a lot more responsibility. Not just responsibility, but accountability is really what I took from it. The decisions that I make and the decisions our CEO makes, they impact our entire organization. And there's, you know, uh, 85 other families that that are affected by these daily decisions. So I take that very seriously, and I'm very contemplative about the different moves that we make and thinking about the rest of the organization, thinking about our responsibility to our customers and the outcomes that we want to continue to provide. So taking in this role, I really wanted to focus on and leverage the experience that I had accrued over the decades in operations and processes and strategy and bring it together and really as the CEO or COO rather to really create sustainable processes and making sure that we have alignment across the teams. So that's where I've gone with it. I feel like I'm always learning every day. I don't feel like I'm done fleshing out this role.
Good, good.
So much more to do and learn, and so it's exciting.
Good, good. So tell me this. I know that I ask this of people on this podcast, and I'd love to hear the answers. You know, the things that we do today, someone in our early years had an influence on us. They were either a role model or a mentor or something that happened when we were kids even. Who was
Mhm.
that for you that influenced you to be who you are today?
Gosh, I kind of feel like there's different people for different chapters in my life. I would say from my youth, probably my grandma. Um, she was such a strong lady who had this enormous heart, who was constantly looking for how she could serve others as well as our family. And when I think back to my childhood, I had the opportunity, our family lived with my grandparents from the time I was 4 until I was 11. And I remember like always like doorbells ringing, phones ringing, people in and out of our house. She always had a pot of coffee on. She always had some type of sweet treat for anybody who stopped by. And it was a very vibrant, buzzing house all the time. And I grew up in that. And I think in a way it helped prepare me for being really busy in business too. Like I'm used to like the hum of stuff and the busyness. And for what she taught me was, you can be busy, effective, strong, and still nurturing and caring and looking out for others. And so that has always really stuck with me. Um, One time, several years ago, she was getting an award from the city of Aurora for her volunteer service, and I was helping her create her bio of where she had come, and sort of like interviewing her. And there was even so much that I didn't know that she had done that was just, it just gave me even more um, respect and awe about what she had done all these years when she was raising 5 kids and then helping raise grandkids. And I never remember her. ever complaining or, you know, not able to do any of those things. She showed up every single day.
I love this. It's my grandmother as well, so we share
Mm.
that in common. Tell me this, Audra, what personal values have guided you from the very start, and which one has deepened over the past year?
I would say for me, integrity, it really matters to me. um, I want to always be showing up honestly, and I really hold those values really close to my heart. It's important to me to not only represent myself well, but the company I'm with, my family, my friends, whatever the situation is, my customers, that I am leading with integrity and truth. And so for me, it's only deepened over time. Um, and yeah, I would say that's one of my core values.
Love this. Where has life asked you to slow down recently, and what did you finally hear when it asked you that?
Oh, honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is a little bit difficult to talk about because it's still a little bit fresh. But to be honest with you, my grandparents, their health deteriorated and in their 90s. So we were super blessed that, it was a long time off. Um, but they needed a lot more help. And I took a break from working full time to be able to help them. And it was such an education in so many ways. It really made me think very intentionally about what I'm doing every day, what's really important in life. And I think everybody goes through this when they've had a time of trial of that, like, aha, like, what's really driving me every day? What's it all for? What is it, if it's not about the people that we care about? Is the paycheck more important than the people? And so I took a step back from working and took that pause to be with them and help them during their critical time, right? And I just learned an enormous amount from it. I learned patience. I learned how scary it is to age and how much you lose of your dignity at times,
Yes.
you know? And I think nobody could have told me what I learned from that experience. It's just one of those things you experience and you come out of it on the other side, I think better. I think I'm a better person because of what I experienced. I'm definitely more intentional with every day and how I live it.
Yes. I'm old enough that I've been through these life changes with my grandparents and my parents. And one thing I can share with you for sure is you will always cherish and be grateful that you took the time you did to spend with your grandparents. So that I can promise you.
Yeah,
Tell me
100%.
this.
Mhm.
I promise. Tell me this. What decision did you have to make recently that required you to act before you were ready?
Hmm. Act before I was ready. Um, there's so many little there's so many little decisions every day that I have to make that I have to act before I'm ready in some cases because I'm very contemplative. Like, oh, I just want to do the right thing, and oh gosh, if I just think on it a little bit. But I'm also a person of action, which is good. I have to be in this role. Um, I don't know if I can, off the top of my head, think of something big. It's more of about a lot of little
Yeah.
decisions on
Yeah.
time of we need to get something to production. Is it 90%? Is it good enough? Will it bring value as it is? And is that okay? And we can continue to refine it because, sometimes progress over perfection is needed to move the needle. Um, so it's more of a series of a lot of little decisions on a weekly basis.
I've got you. It challenges us to realize what perfection means and what it doesn't mean. It's to keep things moving for sure. Tell me about a risky decision that paid off and what gave you the courage to act on it.
I would say probably one of the riskiest decisions I made was to work for Apoorva. And I say that because I I was invited to work for Apoorva by the CEO. We had worked together previously at another job several years before and had become friends, family friends. And it was at a five-family annual camping trip that we do every year in the mountains that he asked me to join his company. And at first I was like, yeah, I mean, I'd love to work with you again, but I'm not quite sure where I would fit in. I'm not a developer. I'm not a technologist, so I'm not quite sure what my strength would be and what I could bring. And he was very strategic and persistent, and he would slowly say, "Oh, could you review this contract for me? What do you think? Or here's a proposal. Do you think you could attend this meeting with me? I kind of want to get your perspective from the business side." And slowly, I could start seeing where I could bring value to Apoorva. And at first, my role was VP of partnerships. Um, and but it was from my experience, my learned experience through all these years working with executives, working in different companies and verticals, and learning along the way. That's what he needed. He needed somebody from the business side of things. He didn't need another technologist or developer at that time. So it was risky because I was comfortable in the job that I was in, but I was kind of not challenged anymore. Like it was one of those things you've been somewhere long enough and you're like, I know this inside and out. I could do it in my sleep. And I never was a complacent person. Um, so I didn't realize how ready I was to be challenged and uncomfortable until I made that leap. And I was so glad that I did.
Yeah, I
Um,
love
but it was because this is an example when I said people that influenced you, there's different people for different chapters in my life, right? And he was a big influence in that chapter of somebody who believes in you sometimes before you catch up and believe in yourself. And so it was a risk to go from the comfortable to something that was challenging and not only challenging, but a lady in technology. Uh, that's also a bit of a challenge sometimes. I'll go to, many events and there's just a handful of us. So kind of getting over that too and feeling a little bit maybe of that like imposter syndrome. Honestly, not having the depth of experience specifically as a technologist, but in other areas that, kind of plants little doubts or concerns for you. But I'm really glad that I took that risk and have overcome those items over time. And I love my job, and I love the company that I work for, and what we produce for our clients.
Yes, I love this. I was talking with someone yesterday, another woman in technology. She shared the same thing with me, and we need to change that. That's a one area that we need to change because I get to talk to a lot of women at very senior levels on this podcast, and have been able to work with many over the years of my career, and we need to move that along. And so I'm glad to hear that that's happening for you. Tell me this, how does Audra decide when to pivot or push through?
That's a good question. I feel like I'm contemplating that a lot, and a lot of that is from the experience that I had taking care of my grandparents. I think I learned a lot about looking at something and not getting so stuck in my mission because I'm a very mission check the box kind of person. And I think that experience helped me kind of slow my roll a little bit and be like, okay, is this really that important? Is it time to pivot? Is my journey here to plow through, or do I need to consider other perspectives? Do I need to pivot this? It's not really that important in the overall mission. And there are times when you got to choose the push through. Like this is hard, this is difficult. I need to have this difficult conversation, but on the other side of it, it will be better. You know. And I think over time and experience, I'm more comfortable with I can push through or I can pivot, but I'm not afraid to do either. I try to
Yeah.
look at it objectively and think, oh, maybe I need to take a beat and let me just be thoughtful and see how important it is to push or to pivot.
Yeah, I found in my career some of my bigger mistakes led to some of my bigger successes. Have you ever had a mistake that turned into a big success?
I mean, I would say on one hand, I don't have very many regrets because I feel like I've learned so much from every experience I've had. Some experiences could have been a little less damaging, maybe. Um, but I would say I went to work for a hedge fund at one time, and I thought it would be this exciting career in finance. And it was the position was misleading. And I ended up having to do a lot of things that at times felt super uncomfortable with like what I valued in life, right? Um, the two owners of the company would ask me to do things that I was like, oh, I'm not really sure I feel comfortable with that, or I'd be just so shocked that they asked me to do it because it was like maybe so personal. Um, what I learned from that experience, it was a grueling 2 years that I was like, I'm not going to give up. It's going to get better. And then finally one day, my husband said to me, I don't think it's going to get better. Maybe this is a time maybe you need to pivot instead of push through because it's ruining your health. It's crazy. The stories you come home with every day could be a movie. And it was so I went ahead and pivoted, and it was good that I did. But in those 2 years of kind of working through all of that, I learned an enormous amount. I was trusted to do things that were sometimes crazy, but I learned how to do them, and I was given very little direction at times other than like this is the end goal, figure out how to get there. So it taught me resilience, and it taught me a lot of skills that I hadn't had before. So I don't regret those 2 years because I think what I came away from it was very valuable. And I also think that I pivoted at the right time. And that was a
Yes.
perfect example of why I needed to pivot and not push through anymore there.
Good, good, good. Tell me this. How do you recognize when fear is information versus a stop sign?
Mm. When I hear the word fear, for me, it's very different, I think. There's not anything in business that I fear. Um, I say, for me, the word would be more like challenge. What do you feel uncomfortable about? And what's that challenge, and how do you work through it? For me, fear, I have a very different reaction to the word fear. And I think it's because, to be honest, when I was a child, when I was 11 years old, we had an intruder break into our home. So for me, the word fear is a whole different level of like truly, flight or fight kind of meaning. So in work, fear to me is more of challenge, uncomfortable. What do I need to do to feel more comfortable about moving through this situation? And then what I do to cope is, okay, do I need to get more information to feel more clear about the decision or the path forward? Do I need to talk to other people who have been through this before? Do I need to leverage those great mentors that I've had along the way? For me, more information, planning, process usually gives me more comfort. So that's how I would react to
Yeah,
a
I
challenge
love
or
this.
uncomfortable.
You know, I've learned over the years for me that fear is simply an opportunity for growth.
Mhm.
There's something there that I can grow from whatever that feeling is that appears as fear, and I love that you reframe that. Tell me this. What impact are you most proud of? Not publicly, not professionally, but personally.
Well, I think I would have to go back to caring for my grandparents, and my mother too. Though her journey was shorter. At the end of the day, I was just really glad that I was able to be with the people that I loved when they really needed somebody, and to do it authentically, and to do it to be all in with them in their time, and be present, and be a source of comfort and help, whether it was helping brush their teeth or get them into bed, or just sitting down with them and listening to their stories and sharing with them too, um, how impactful their lives and how our relationship was to me and my growth and my life. So I would say that would be my thing.
I love that. How do you define success beyond our typical metrics and milestones?
Happiness, contentment. I feel like I'm a lifelong learner. I always like to be learning something, getting more information. Um, I'm excited about the future and what I'm going to do next. I feel like it's not so much about recreating myself. It's more in this stage of my life, uh, kind of redefining, polishing, exploring more, but it's not going to be a complete like overhaul, you know?
Yes, 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 yes. So tell me this, Audra, what boundary has become essential to your sustainability?
With boundary. Mm. Well, I like to protect my time. To me, time is the most valuable thing. When my time is wasted, I get a little prickly because it's just so precious and so precious. So for me, the boundary is I want to have clarity about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and if it's worth that time spent.
Yeah, that's some wisdom for our viewers right there about
Mhm.
time. Sometimes we forget that we all get the same amount of time in each day, and we get to choose how we structure it and use it. Have you ever had to say no to growth because it wasn't aligned?
Hmm. I don't think I have. I don't think I've had to say no to growth. I think the experience that I had when I worked for the hedge fund company was it taught me many things. The other thing it did teach me when I was looking for jobs after that point was to be really careful about do I align with the values of this company? That's very important to me. I learned that because I didn't align with the values of that company, right? And I was like, wow, this is something I need to be careful about. I think previously I'd really landed in companies that I did have alignment with, had you know um, good opportunities with. So that had never been tested for me before that time. But after that, and every position I've chosen since then, I've been very intentional about checking that company out and asking them like, what is your culture? Who are you? What's important to you? And get a sense of how they truly operate. That needs to always have alignment. So that I have, dialed in for the future. But if I hadn't had that kind of crappy experience, it might have stayed off my radar.
Yeah, yeah, wow. How does Audra balance being a leader with being a learner?
I think it goes very harmoniously, because I'm learning every day, and I think along the way, everything I've learned, I've moved into my leadership style. Um, and I, at the end of the day, a lot of that also comes from I want to treat people the way I want to be treated, and I mean, that it's kind of a golden rule, but it really is right. Like, I don't like to be micromanaged. I don't want to micromanage anybody else. I want to be intentional about, you know, providing a good uh, leader relationship. I think all of our company and all of our employees are kind of co-stakeholders in what we do too. And, we've really worked hard on making sure that they feel comfortable speaking up and telling us what we don't know, and not being afraid of that. And it has been a little bit more of a challenge because we're a multinational company and we have teams in India where they're just incredibly respectful. And so part of the challenge has been teaching them that respect is also speaking up and being comfortable with that and go ahead and push your ideas and tell us what's going on because we'll be better for it if we can have those conversations. So I'm not in conflict with learning and leadership because I feel like it's just naturally came together for me.
Yeah, love this. So tell me this, what does renewal look like for you besides the typical taking a little rest or a day off? What does renewal look like?
Um, a little bit of renewal every day, I think is helpful. Sometimes in the car, maybe there's not as much time for renewal, but I listen to, podcasts in the car. I listen to books in the car, and I have that little kind of wind down after work before I walk into my home. And I think that kind of helps, freshen me up for how I show up there too. I mean, every day is a challenge sometimes with that, right? Sometimes you have so much on your mind, it's hard to leave it behind. But I like to, go for walks. I live in Colorado, so renewal kind of happens for me too every morning when I'm driving to work. I'm lucky because my drive to work is just a beautiful view of the mountains. Like I'm driving to the mountains. I don't go all the way into the mountains, but I have the luxury of the view. And I'll tell you that there's not a day that I am driving, unless it's cloudy and I can't see the mountains, that I don't count myself so lucky to have that, because I think those little moments of renewal help too.
Yes, and those mountains are so beautiful. As I shared with you before, I've had many, many memories in Mount Estes Park, such a beautiful place to be. And
Yeah.
I feel sometimes like I'm touching beyond anything ever imaginable when I'm there. So tell me this, what is the quietest, most powerful truth this journey has taught you so far?
Mm. People and relationships are the most important.
Hmm. I like that. What have you learned about trust?
Well, it's the foundation of everything, whether it be in business or in your personal life. Building trust is important. And I once worked for somebody who had a career in the military, and when we met, we had just really different styles. And it was a few months of feeling kind of uncomfortable, a little bit of friction at times. And we had a discussion one day, And, um, and I said, "I feel like you don't trust me, and I've never felt that way before from somebody, and I gotta tell you, it makes me super uncomfortable, and you know why?" And he was like, "Well, when I meet somebody, the trust starts here, and then you have to build up. But for me, when I meet somebody, I start at the top, and you have to only show me that it's gonna go down." So we had very different ways of looking at people that you first meet, and where you start. Where do you start with trust with somebody? And after having that very open, honest conversation, it really helped our relationship, right? Um, but it never occurred to me that somebody would look at it differently. And I think
Uh,
that's important. That's why every day you learn something, right? And so that helped inform me. Like I might show up with like, "I trust you completely," and then you just only have to, ruin it from there. Otherwise, you're going to stay up top. But other people come from a different place, and you have to slowly build that trust. And that's important. That was an important aha for me. Um, even coming into this role as COO, right? Not every customer is going to immediately trust me, or prospect, or even employee. And so you need to be aware of that and kind of meet them where they are on that trust scale.
yes, yes. And remember, their lack of trust for you may have nothing to do with you. It can be something
Right.
about experience they had somewhere else. I love trust. It's such an interesting thing to explore. Tell me this, if your much younger self were watching this podcast, what would you tell her?
Mhm. I had so many different ideals about what I was going to be when I was little. We were recently on a road trip for a conference, and I was sharing with my boss, Nagesh. First I wanted to be this, and then I wanted to be that, and I want to be that, and and I'm none of those things now. And I think that's okay. But if you would have told me when I was a kid, you may not be what you set your heart on, I would have been like crushed, right? Like what? I can be anything. Um, and it's not that I'm not what I wanted to be. What I am now, I would never even dreamed of, right? Where I am now, the kind of company I'm in. I mean, that didn't even exist when I was a kid dreaming up occupations. So I would say to my younger self, like, be open to the possibilities, set goals, but not limits, and keep an open mind that everything that you're going to experience will just create the foundation of who you're meant to be and what you'll become. And also, like I said before, just really invest in those good relationships. Identify those people who are going to be your champions, who are going to believe in you when you don't, who are going to be great mentors, and maybe not all throughout your life, but in certain chapters of your life. And so that's the advice I'd give myself.
I love this. Audra Palakodety,
Well done.
COO at Apoorva. I knew I'd get it right eventually. Tell us how we can find you.
Oh, sure. At apoorva.com, and Apoorva is APOORV like Victor, A.com. Also, our products, getsiteware.com and invento.llc, will all kind of lead us back to the same thing. I'm also on LinkedIn under Audra Palakodety, which there isn't another one, so not too hard to find me. But yeah, thank you so much for letting me speak with you, Tom. It was really fun.
Absolutely. Thank you for being on Opening Pathways today, Audra.
My pleasure.
And to my viewers, this is Tom LeNoble. I'll see you next time.